Hey folks, AG Squared here. I've been in the business of real estate, specifically buying residential properties and renting them out for 6 years now. Due in part to strategic decisions I've made, throughout this time I've been fortunate by practically having no challenges with my renters, with the occasional 1 to 2 week late rent rare moments. But like in all things in life, even when things are running smooth, like a well-tuned engine, you'll at some point face challenges. And many of those will be completely unforeseen or unexpected. And it's how you react in these moments that's a testament to your character. Within the last month or so, I faced one of these situations. It was a regular Friday for me. I woke up at roughly the same hour, 7:15 in the morning, made my espresso, and went to my home office to start my day. Once it was time for lunch, around noon, I began heating something up when I got a text from a renter of mine. The text said, "Please call me when you get a chance." Fortunately, because I was making lunch, I was able to call them right away. Partially expecting to hear something around the likes of having an issue with a house or an issue with an appliance. Well, that wasn't the case. Instead, that individual called me to inform me that recently they lost their job out of the blue, and that they knew that paying rent on time would be difficult for them given the impact of losing their job without having an emergency fund in place. Let's pause. It's a moment exactly like this one, during a phone conversation between two people, in this case, a landlord and a renter, where each individual demonstrate their character and maturity based on how they navigate the rest of the conversation. Reflecting back on this call, as a landlord, I intentionally wanted to hear them out before I said anything. I do this because I want to give that individual space to tell me what's top of their mind in that particular moment. What are they thinking about? How are they reacting to this unforeseen event? Do they have a plan in place? How are they doing? This is takeaway number one. When life throws you an unforeseen challenge, take the time to first listen and think before speaking or acting. So as I remained in listening mode, they began telling me how they had already submitted several new job applications, regardless of the type of job, to make ends meet, as well as mentioning that they'd even consider sleeping in their car if it came to that. And it's the right mindset because one first focuses on resolving the immediate problem, which is, in this case, making money to make ends meet. Regardless if it's a short-term job, not mattering how demeaning or how poorly paid it is. If you don't have an emergency fund to cover 1 to 3 months of living expenses, you have to get into the job market no matter what. You have to act. Once that individual told me this, I didn't immediately jump and say, "Don't worry, rent can be late." And I also didn't jump in and say, "You've got 30 days to vacate the house." Remember, life is about taking time to listen. Once you listen, take time to ask questions. And only after you do these two things will you be positioned to make a decision or action. Before I ask my questions though, I wanted to level set something with them. I wanted to remind them that to me, the number one priority should be that they prioritize their health and be sure that they can pay for food, water, and essential costs to enable them to be able to function and find a job. The second priority, as I told them, was to pay for a roof over their head, effectively hinting to them that I would understand if rent had to be slightly late just to be able to overcome this difficult moment. After level setting that with them, my first question to him was, "Bob, do you know how much money you need at a minimum to make sure you can afford food, water, and essentials?" That means no eating out, no buying any vices, no dating, no nothing except the essentials. Coming to that number is important because it would tell them how many part-time jobs they would need to get in the short term. Fortunately, they did have an idea of that number, which was great. I followed up my first question with this one. "Bob, will the jobs you're already applying for be able to make you that dollar amount?" To which they also said yes. Third question I asked was very important. "Bob, are you comfortable telling me why you lost your job?" This question is less about the actual reason, but more about how one reacts and answers that question. Do they make endless excuses? Do they blame others? Do they get defensive and tell me to f off? Or like my renter did in this situation, do they show honesty and take accountability? They told me during the phone call that they didn't like the type of role they had, which resulted in them performing very poorly. No excuses were made. That's an honest answer. It's worth noting that in this scenario, I knew the individual well enough where I knew they would find a short-term job and have their sights on a job that'd be more permanent. Okay, at this point of the story and situation, I, one, have listened to the individual intently, and two, I have asked questions to gather more information. So now it's time for me to decide and act based on what I know. So I told him this. Rent would be allowed to be late for 2 full months with no late fees and no evictions. And on the third month, that we can reassess where they are at and determine if we need to continue extending a grace period using a payment plan or if we need to explore alternatives. This is not charity though. I still strategically ensured that they were accountable on picking themselves up. And I did this by ensuring that they agreed to pay $100 of the $700 of rent during each of the 2 months and pay their utility portion, which ends up being around $70 a month. So in total, $170 per month for 2 months with no late fees and a guarantee to have a place they can come back to and call home. After all, this individual needed some breathing room, some space where they didn't need to worry about becoming homeless. And I believe in my position, giving them the opportunity to focus all of their energy on landing back on their feet with a new job is the most I could offer. Understandably so, when I outlined all of this to them, this individual got a little emotional and expressed immense relief in our call. And I have to be honest, outside of my success in this real estate business and in my own career, moments such as this one where I have been able to positively be there to support someone and help coach them through a hard time and hopefully have in any form a positive influence in their life is all I could hope for. There is nothing more rewarding than knowing that you helped them in a time where they just needed a boost. It's worth mentioning though, folks, that due in part to the decisions and discipline that I've applied in my life, I'm blessed to be in a position where my business has the funds to stay afloat for short-term unforeseen issues like this one, and that I have a very stable source of income outside of my business. So I don't want people to think that this is the norm by which property management companies nor private landlords should be held to. The mindset which I applied in this situation should be the norm though. I want to conclude by offering 2 key takeaways. The first, when life throws you an unforeseen challenge, take time to first listen and think before speaking or acting. Follow this up with asking questions to gather more context and information, and only then make a decision, act, or reaction based on the scenario. The second is to strive to learn how to distinguish good people from people that prey and take advantage of others. The world is made up of these 2 types of people, unfortunately, and people that take advantage of others are experts at knowing who and how to prey on others. But I also don't want good people to feel like they can't or shouldn't help others because they've been a victim of someone that's taken advantage of them. So please be very diligent and over time learn how to distinguish good from bad people. And the moment you have a chance to help someone that's good, do it without wanting anything back. It's not just the right thing to do, but also being able to be there for someone is the most fulfilling and joyful thing that I believe one can experience. I know that this video was very different than what I usually talk about in my channel, but I hope that it serves the purpose of reminding you, no matter how successful or lack of, no matter how rich or poor, no matter how famous or unknown you are, dig deep inside you and perform acts of kindness wherever possible. Bonus points if you're able to do that while also providing empowerment, accountability, and challenging others along the way. Like always, thank you for watching. Please consider liking and sharing this video. And if you're interested in more content like this or DIY projects, real estate, finance, or technology topics, subscribe to my channel below. Till next time.